think that will be very helpful. So also, if you could share here or any other platform, the Safina link, so that we can look at it and also get to know what it is that they are doing and question also some of the areas, I think that will be helpful. So the next person we have on the speaker panel is Ras Mwaniki, and then after that we'll have Sankale.
Okay, yeah, okay, let them go first, because there was something I wanted to comment about what he said about Mozambique, but I'll comment after these two people. What Japoja said about Mozambique. Thank you.
Thank you, Flavia, Justice, and everyone in the space. Thank you for the mic and for the opportunity. I followed the conversation and it's great. I also had the chance of listening to the Maraga interview. And the observations you've made about him needing support are very correct. What I don't know is whether support equals coaching, because there is where he entrusts people to take up different aspects of policy, and then those people do the actual answering, or do they sit down and then they feed him the answers, which he will come and regurgitate in other spaces? I'm not too sure about that. But one of my observations was on a question he was asked yesterday about his track record in fighting corruption in the judiciary. And it was a direct question because he was told that the current judiciary as we know it is a corrupt institution. And him having been the head of that institution for a good number of years, one would have expected that he would leave that space, leaving it as a corruption-free institution. I saw some people like Maura trying to explain for him in the comments, but I think he really needs to answer that question, because he really fought many external battles with the executive not funding the judiciary, the executive not obeying court orders. But when accusations came regarding his peers in the judiciary, his fellow judges, he seemed not to see any evil or hear any evil. And according to his answer yesterday, he said no tangible evidence was brought to him to allow him to prosecute. If you take that approach when you become the president, it's highly likely that you will find people coming straight to you with evidence. You need to be more proactive when it comes to reforms and transforming an institution. So I think he struggled with that. He also struggled with matters to do with the economy. I don't know whether he would need to go back to school and learn about the economy, or he will leave it to the experts. As for his character, I have no problem with his character at all. In fact, that is his greatest strength, his character. His personality is quite a challenge. In fact, I was left wondering whether he was even listening to some of the questions, because he would come back and say, I don't know what you have asked, but if you're talking about salaries being, there's a lawyer who asked about doing a contract with the incoming leaders and have them commit to salary reduction or something like that. And he was like, we will decide whether that would be policy or not. I think he needs to listen to the questions, understand, and show that he understands the issues. Just as Japonji has said, he needs to show that he understands what the average person is talking about, and he has taken time to think it through, and he has the solutions people are looking for. His bottom line was restoration of the rule of law. They say that if all you have is a hammer, all problems start looking like nails. Yes, the return of the rule of law is important, but there are other solutions that are required. So I have confidence in Maraga. but I don't have confidence in his capacity to win the election, in as much as he has a very good campaign team. I have to commend the campaign team. I've seen quite a lot being spoken about on X. There's the talk about them reaching out to all the volunteers via email. That is commendable. The spaces being done, that is all very, very good. Unfortunately, when he is put on the limelight to win votes for himself, he's not coming out as strong as he needs to.
Monique, I have a problem with this campaign team, and I will give your time back. I remember we failed terribly during and the Maura will remember this. We failed terribly during the Azimio campaign when Baba and Mother Karoa were in Garissa. And we were trying to organize something that we planned so well. We thought, actually, we planned so well. But during the time of execution, it went so bad, a big embarrassment that you would ever want to see. So yesterday, his campaign team failed him. The kind of technical hitches that we had, the absenteeism in terms of concentration that he had, that you have highlighted, for me, I attribute that to a way of lack of preparedness and not taking this kind of event seriously. You have an audience. We were getting even climbing up to mid-hundreds, almost getting to 1,000. People started getting frustrated. So, Mwaniki, I get what you're saying about people being out here and doing something, but such kind of events, as a campaign, you have to do something. You have to take them serious. You cannot have basic technical issues on an X space. But anyway, proceed. I just wanted to highlight that I was disappointed with the campaign team. And if you're part of it here, honestly, that need to be improved. Maura, and you can hear me. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Mwaniki.
yes, yeah. They need to have a good public relation team. Yeah.
I think those were more of technical issues because they were trying to juggle between platforms. They were running the questions via X and TikTok, and I think there was also streaming on, was it TV47? I'm not sure, but that is something they can improve. But let's give them their flowers because they've been listening to the comments and the feedback, and I believe they are helping him quite a lot. So this being a year and a half or 2 years to the elections, I believe they will learn through that. But I agree with you, Justice. Now going to Matiangi, Matiangi is fighting quite a lot because of his personality. He's known to be arrogant. There are also those corruption allegations, which he's also trying to distance himself from. He also has a know-it-all attitude. When he gets to a room, he tells you what needs to be done rather than consult and discuss with the people and then arrive at a solution. And last but not least, what I really don't like about him and what really put me off about him when he was in government was his blatant disobedience to court orders, even petty court orders like that of Miguna. It didn't really make sense why someone would disobey such a simple court order regarding someone they thought would be of not much significance. So Matiangi has that he's struggling with, but people tend to associate him with the ability to deliver. And the fact that he was able to show results, that gives him an upper edge over Maraga because people are asking, what can you do for us? Not who are you? For Maraga, we can say, oh, this guy is a saint. For Matiangi, we can say, the guy has issues, but when it comes to delivery, he can deliver. We have seen results. He was able to transition this country from the analog to the digital. He was able to do a few reforms here and there in the education sector. So in terms of delivery, he has an edge over Maraga. One more thing he has an edge over is his approach to elections. I have confidence in Maraga's ability to lead, but I have zero confidence in Maraga's ability to win the incoming election. For Matiangi, there is hope because he's ganging up with people of like minds, and he's saying, surely I cannot do this alone. And even before we pick our captain, let us make sure that we have a team that can deliver. Maraga needs to do that. And if you were to ask me, I personally have no problem with Matiangi and Maraga and Wanjigi and Boni Mwangi and all the other people coming together to work as a team. Maura, you told us that you are in agriculture and all that. You know very well that you've never found a shamba anywhere that has no weeds. So for you to expect that you will have an incoming team that will be 100% clean like Maraga, that would be deceiving yourself. Even when Maraga reaches out to other people, you will find that there are some people who will still have integrity issues. But as with farming, weeding is a continuous process. So I would advise the Maraga team to copy a few things that the Matiangi guys are doing. They are not too quick to announce to us who their captain will be, but they are saying, let us get our team in place. We understand that in this country, politics is about tribe, it's about your people, it's about your numbers. Things that Maraga doesn't have on his side. Maraga has a cult following of, say, 100,000 people or 200,000 people, but unfortunately, that cult following is not growing because he himself is not making good effort to make himself likable. Or even when he tries, he thinks politics is more about logic than emotions. But being liked is a very important part of campaigning. So just to land, my take would be both candidates are equally good. They are quite good. I won't give them marks like Japonji has done. It's for you to judge. But I wish Matiangi, Maraga, and all the rest would sit down. They agree to disagree, and they work together to liberate this country. Thank you very much. I land.
All right. Thank you so much, Ras. And I am happy that what is coming out clearly is that you're able to point out what each one of them has as a strength. And ultimately, I think in anything that we do, combination of strength is what makes it a success. So what comes out clearly from you and some of the other speakers is at some point, maybe there ought to be combination of strengths. They will judge what is suitable and who is suitable person to combine with, but that comes out clearly from you and other people. Let's get to hear from Sankale before we can hear from academia. Sankale, we are talking about whatever session we had with Maraga yesterday, and also Matiangi was on TV, and he took the country through whatever he intends to achieve as a presidential candidate. So if you can have, and I know Wanjigi also has launched something. So if you can take time to speak through all those people who intend to govern the country in the future and what you think of them based on what you saw or heard.
Oh, well, and Flavia and Maura Justice, thank you for the mic. And guys, mutapati umjama anaitwa Sara Mike leo aongee. Yeye uko tu kwa spaces sana, but one day ashini respond here, so you'll give this Sara guy mic at least leo aongee. It's important because I think he's a comrade na amekuanga hapa all this time around. Leo apewe mic. Mimi nimerequest tu apewe mic. Anyway.
Yeah.
Sara, leo upewe mic tafadhali. At least tujue wewe ni nani, tusikie ta sauti yako leo for once. So, naache kuteremka. So, me think, first of all, youths tuna need kuji-understand. We really need to understand ourselves. I think hatujajielewa. We have gone through a lot. Tume go through a lot in terms of protest. Tume go through a lot in terms of people dying on streets. Tume go through a lot as a country as well. So, Let me start with Matiangi. There's no difference between Matiangi and William Ruto. There's totally no difference. No different. The guy is arrogant. The guy hasikizi watu. The guy ana utu. Ni whatever may decide kufanya, ndio yeye atafanya. The guy has no, ndawambiaje, si Kibaki. You guys can say he was a reform, ali reform things. This guy, the former minister alikuwa anaitwa Kaimenyi, ndio alikuwa minister of education. Kulikuwa na a lot of rigging ya exams. So definitely this new minister lazima ange make sure exam ijarigiwa. Na the government haingetaka exam tena ionekane ikirigiwa. So that's why mnamcall. Matiangi alikuwa reformist, sijui what, atike, agake. Hivyo sasa ndio mmemtemu. This guy alikuwa prime cabinet wakati wa Uhuru. Alikuwa na oversee all the ministries. Kwanza hiyo time William Ruto alikuwa ananyang'anywa powers zinapewa Matiangi. So yeye anajua mali 6.3 million ilienda. Is part of the government. Hiyo debt mnasema tunafaa kulipa is part of that debt. Kuna shamba tu hapa kuko na kesi nayo Ruaraka land. Bado hiyo tunaambiongo ilikuliwa. Anafaa tujue ni aje ilikuliwa. So that one is an X. Let's go to Maraga. Mimi acha niwaambie ukweli, munipende munichukie. Me I speak my heart. Maraga can never make a good president, but he can make a very good deputy president. Why? This guy has never been an MP, hajui anything about managing, ni mtu ameishi akifanya kazi kwa judiciary, anajua about the law. And Maraga, he's not charismatic, akona ground Twitter, lakini hana ground kwa watu. Do you know there's a difference between having ground hapa kwa Twitter, like the way Peter Kenneth alikuanga na ground hapa 2013. Everybody saw Peter Kenneth kwa Twitter that time, yeye ndio president, but ground hakuwa nayo.
Sankale, a quick one as you go on. Do you mean only someone mwenye amekuwa able to, like only someone who's been a politician or an MP can make a good president? For example, Ruto had been an MP for many years before he became a president, and many other people who are in parliament right now. Do you mean those are the only suitable people? Like that experience makes you suitable?
No, what I mean is this. We need someone with a good track record of managing either a county or a constituency. For example, let me give you my suitable presidential lineup yangu. To me, I'll put somebody like Kivutha Kibwana. He has been one of the best governors. Amekuanga na kwa spaces hapa na sisi. I think we are too blind to see wenye watu wamekuwa kitu surround. Amekuwa kikaa hapa na sisi mpaka usiku saa 8 ya usiku, akitujibu maswali. And then, hamwezi mrecognize. Tuliona Kenya alifanya Makueni. That guy right now is just a normal lecturer, Daystar University. Nikumaanisha hata hakuna kitu alikula. Sasa ameamua tu kuhangaika vile tunahangaika kama walimu wao wengine. But we are here fronting Matiangi na alikuja kwa space jana. We are talking about such a guy. Are we even okay? Akili zetu zinafanya kazi nzuri. Poleni sana. We just need to think deeper. I think mimi I can only vote for somebody. Mtu mwenye ninaona, mtu nimekuwa nikimuuliza maswali. Like that Kamze alikuwa economical advisor wa Kibaki. We have been talking about somebody like Kibaki. This is one guy mwenye amekuwa akitembea na Kibaki. And then we deputize him with somebody like Maraga. Somebody who understands the law and respect the law na ataenda kufunga hawa watu wenye wamekuwa kikula pesa yetu. Like we really need to come up with a presidential candidate mwenye na make sense to us. Tuende kwa campaign team ya Maraga. Haki ya Mungu. Tuambiane tu ukweli. Those guys hapa kwa Twitter, hata nyinyi wenye mnaongea deep down in your mind and in your heart, mnajua si watu. Ni watu kidogo kidogo pale walienda wakachoma. Ni vile tu mnashindango kuongea hizi vitu. Cause presidential team ya Maraga, I've been with those guys, sita wadanganya. If you try to get closer to them, they will ignore you. and they want you to vote to their guy. It is impossible. How? Mbona unaniwekea block? Haiwezi. And I think wakati hata president acheni to learn things na kina Ruto na Gachagua. Let's learn some things from them. Sahii wanaingiana na watu kabisa, hadi unaonanga wakikula mahindi na motura. What does that shows you? Wanataka relate with the people. Lakini wewe juu unajuana na Maraga unakuja unaweka curtain hapo. Do you think we can vote for that guy? Ni sawa, tutaandika Maraga the 6th, but trust me I'd rather go vote for an MP, MCA, and a governor and a senator, and I go home. Let's look for another crucial thing as I learned. Do you know an MCA is more powerful than a president? Do you know an MP is more powerful than a president, according to our constitution? And Flavia is here, is a lawyer. The only thing president does ni kusign whatever the MPs wamemletea. Huyu ndio cabinet tumevet na tukaona ako sawa. President umenominate hawa wote, hawa tuwataki, bring another list. Hawa wote pia tuwataki. Because hiyo ndio kazi ya MPs. We are focusing with the president, na hata huo Maraga tunataka anaweza ingia, na Gachagua alete magridi MPs wake kutoka Mount Kenya, Kalonzo alete wake kutoka Eastern, Raila alete the same people from ODM. Tutakuwa tumeachieve nini? Nothing. Tutakuwa na a strong president but corrupt MPs. Tutarudia the same problem. If we want change, let's change from bottom to up. Who is the engine of the country? MCA? Yeye governor is nothing. Nairobi imemesiwa na MCAs wa Nairobi. They should all go home. Guys, let's sit down, strategize, form the next government. Tuache emotion, tuache haste. And let me tell you guys, Maraga did not start the revolution. Omtata did not start the revolution. Kivutha did not. But one thing I like about Kivutha, hajasema hata anataka kusimama president. Aliulizwa juzi akasema, I can even vie for my area MCA. We need the presidential candidate ama our president akatoke organically from us. Sisi ndo tunafaa tumuendorse. We say we want Redemptor to be our president. Like you see venye nimesema leo, I would like Kivutha Kibwana to be my president. Hajaisema. Other countries zenye zimefuata our way, hawakuletewa mtu mwenye amejiendorse. They had their own guy that they endorsed. What if the system ndio inatuletea hawa watu wote na inataka kutuconfuse na hawa watu wote? Just ask yourself that question. Why, after all, Omtata anataka kuwa president, Matiangi anataka kuwa president, Maraga anataka kuwa president? Kwa nini sisi youth hatujasema huyu ndio tunataka kuwa president candidate wetu? Let us think for once. We have bright people, nice people, smart people. Mimi, I will suggest Kivutha Kibwana the president, Maraga the deputy, and then from there, tuko na Rasji ni MP, tuko na Flavia ni MP, tuko na Japonji ni MP, mko na Sankale ni MP, and then we sit down, tuna vet ma cabinet secretaries, tunatafuta technocrats, tunaingia bunge, tunatengeneza finance bill itatusaidia, na we are going for those debts ourselves. That is how people wanachukuanga power.
Thank you.
Let me finish justice for all.
Sure.
Let us don't be like Mau Mau. Mau Mau, they were fearless, they were partyless, they were tribeless. There's no difference between us and Mau Mau. And Muzungu aliweza kushortchange Mau Mau hivi, walikuwa leaderless. Kimathi alikuwa a general in Mount Kenya. There was another general in somewhere else. They didn't have structural leadership. And the Mzungu wali make sure wamemletea Mzee Kenyatta as their supreme leader. So kusema wako leaderless iliwa cost big time. Let me say this as I yield. Justice nipe tu time yangu niongee tu. Because I'll be very busy of late. Nimekuwa too very busy.
It's fine. Everybody has to have time, but I just want to redirect the conversation.
Let me just
so that hang in a second. Hang in a second.
Give me 2 minutes.
I'll give you 2 minutes. I promise.
Thank you.
Once I promise I'll give you 2 minutes. I will.
We are saying
I just don't want us to really expand the boundary of the conversation. Then we lose the focus of what we are reacting to, and that's why I'm trying to redirect
And
a little
it's
bit.
also good tusiongelea kuhusu mkate enye imepikwa, tukose kuangalia yeast.
You see, now I hate when I'm trying to redirect the conversation and then speak, because I did the same thing with Japunj earlier, and I don't like doing that. So when one of my co-hosts and directing the conversation, you listen. I think that's the fair way I like doing it. So what we're trying to do is to ensure that as we even have this conversation, we have had this repetitive way of doing things. Today, we are trying to analyze if these people, when they're being confronted with tough and directed questions, are they responding to the questions or are they evading them? And we put case in point. And in this case, we're doing the Maraga's responses and the Matiangi's responses in the interview, and Wanjigi. So the reason as to why we chose that as the line of discussion today is because you want to get deeper into holding these people accountable. When we bring someone else in, we try to make sure that if they're running away from the questions, we can put it back to them that you never answered the questions. I think that was the essence from the beginning. Sankale, your 2 minutes. Proceed.
I think Justice, hata kama ulikuwa umenimute, I think we all have different thinking. We are speaking on the same topic, but maybe my thinking or my response itakuwa different. Sita go like I'll have my own thinking too, but we're just discussing the same thing. Maybe I'm going too deep, or maybe you want us to go too shallow, or maybe I'm going too shallow and you want us to go too deep. We are just on the same building but different floors. So
just
let me finish
your point. Weka point yako tu Sankari. Just make your point.
Let me say, acha tu ni make point yangu tu. Guys, we have been saying we are fearless. We don't want structural leadership because sababu tuko na uoga ati Mwaura atatuuza. And yet, Mwaura anaweza kuwa kiongozi wetu, yeye ni kiongozi tu kama microphone, anatumika kuongea kila kitu tunasema. Na hawezi kuwa bot, because ukitaka kubai Mwaura, lazima utaconsult all the youths of Kenya. So it's hard to buy Mwaura. So guys, Maraga can never make a president, Matiangi can never make a president, but Kivutha Kibwana can make a good president, Maraga can make a good deputy president. About story ya Wanjigi na deni, angalia whatever Ghana went through. Tukisema tutalipa hii deni, information it happen, na so many things it happen. What we need to do ni, tukigrab power 2027, we will pay for the first year, but we will be auctioning mali ya watu wenye walikuanga kwa hiyo serikali. We will be paying by auctioning every private resources wenye wako nayo. Kama ni Uhuru alikopa, tutaendea hizo makampuni zake, tunalipa nayo hiyo deni. Same to Kasongo. Nimemaliza.
Thank you very much Sankare. Asante sana for your opinion. Kuna kitu Japonja had said and I want to clarify on it about this odious debt. Japonja, Maraga was asked that question and he said he's first of all going to order those debts. You talked about the Safina knowing each and every details. I wish you know who Maina Wanjigi is. Tusiingie huko. Let's not get inside there. Who Maina Wanjigi is, particularly right from the time of who Nani Nazile deal na mambo kama hayo. But the thing is this, there's all what Maraga said was he's going to commission a team that is going to audit, and that's all what we need. And you talked about in Mozambique, it was called the tuna board. And what happened in that, for 1 minute, what happened in that case is that the Mozambique, 3 companies in Mozambique, which are owned by the government, borrowed $2 billion without the authority of the parliament. And when it was discovered in 2016, it was discovered that they borrowed this money without the authority of the parliament. There in Mozambique, we have a court there that is, you can see it's similar to our Supreme Court, and we call it the Constitutional Council. It's similar to that. It has a different name. It's called the Constitutional Council in Mozambique. That Constitutional Council, that's where the top, it even decides the presidential election and everything, just like it works like the Supreme Court. It decided that since it was not, this man was not authorized by the parliament as per the constitution, then this money cannot be paid. And with that ruling, all those who headed those companies were arrested. And actually, two sons of two former presidents are serving 15 years in jail in Mozambique. The head of intelligence by that time was also serving some 13 years. A lot of them are serving more than 10 years in jail. They were jailed 2 years ago. And the finance minister who organized everything was arrested, and he's now serving 100 months in a New York jail in United States of America, Manoro Chan. You see? So, but the difference between our case and this one of Mozambique is this: it was only one. That one is only one. Lakini hizi zetu ni nyingi. So what I would like, what Maraga was saying, he is going to go after. So in Kenya, we need to have several of them because hawakukopa pali pamoja. Ya Mozambique was only one. It was only about 2.1 billion tuna board scandal. Ilikuwa tu ni moja. Lakini hizi zetu ni kuanzia SGR, Aroro, Kimorero, wherever. So what we would do is we have a team that we are going to audit them, tujue hizi zilitoka huko zikuja SGR hazikukuja, hizi haturipi. And somebody like Henry Rotich, who was in charge of finance, should be serving jail. Lazima akamatwe kama huyu wa Mozambique, waziri wa fedha, who is now serving, and he was even fined $7 million, and he's serving jail there in the United States of America. So someone like Henry Rotich, if we change the government, this is one of the people who will go behind the bars because he facilitated the coming particularly of the Eurobond. So different tofauti yetu na Mozambique kwamba Mozambique kwa ni moja lakini zetu ni nyingi, but we have to go after each and everyone, and it's going to take time, lakini tutafika huko hata kama ni miaka ngapi. We are going to get there, even if they attend scandals, they are going to get. The issue is this: I don't know whether we will be brave enough to jail those people like now, to jail someone like Rotich, to jail someone like Uhuru, or the sons of Huto, because those are the kind of people and some ministers who are exactly in prison now in Mozambique, in the maximum security prison there. So we'll be brave enough to jail those people. So that remains a question to be seen. When we will get there, when tutafika huko, hiyo mambo ikifika. But that's exactly what happened in Mozambique, and I'm so happy that those people paid. So someone like Henry Rotich should not think that he is safe. No, tukianza kuaudit hizi debt, because he authorized particularly the Eurobond, hiyo yeye atakwenda ndani na hiyo mambo, na tutalipa hiyo ndeni. And that's what has made Mozambique not to pay the $2 billion. Asante sana kwa kuleta hiyo japoji.
Thank you very much. I'm going to have a quick rebuttal from Sam, then I bring in academia. But Flavia, I have a question that you can come in later for. And this might put you on the spot, but that's fine. If you don't have the answer now, we can get it. How does a cabinet secretary disobey court order? And here's where I'm coming from so that I give you a background on my question. Is this an issue where he's actually following what the executive has decided, maybe the boss? Number one. Number two, what's the role of the Attorney General when it comes to these issues of the court orders that is issued to the executive? Think about that, and then we can address that on the other side. But let me have some quick rebuttal, then bring in academia. Very good discussions, very good submissions, everybody. I really appreciate. Jerick, welcome back. Hatujatoka mahali tuacha. Sam, karibu.
I wanted to ask a question to, was it Ras Maura? The question is, Ras anajua, and this question has been troubling me for a long time. Ras knows that Maraga ana contest. Na anajua Maraga
Ras Mwaniki?
Mwaniki, yeah.
Okay.
He knows that Maraga is contesting. He knows his attributes. So why does Ras need a campaign team that is sophisticated to convince him to vote for him? I never get the logic there, now that he knows. Number two, Maura. Maura has rightly put it, what happened in Mozambique. The judiciary plays a key role in easing the process of prosecuting looters of a country. Maraga was president of the judiciary for the whole term. How did it make it? Did he make it any easier? Are there any reforms? Because if we want to have a country of rule of law, are there any reforms, especially having to come up with constitutional and courts that specifically deal with cases of corruption so that they can be hastened. These people are put in jail and such like. There's no smooth running in the judiciary. It is the weakest link, even the time when former president of the judiciary was there. Those are my two troubling questions.
Okay,
Thank you, Justice.
let me answer you the one you have direct to me. You have said that Mozambique helped that one, yes, but something I'd like to remind to you. The case was taken to the Mozambique Constitutional Council by the prosecutors. Judges or judicial don't go socializating for cases. Wanagojea waletewe kesi pale. So for Mozambique, hapo nimekujibu, and that's why. Number two, if you look at the judiciary, the way they works, even the Chief Justice cannot direct arrested bodies how to rule the case. They are very, very independent. Number three, to finalize my issue, if you look after the notification of the 2017, do you remember how Uhuru fought the judiciary, including arresting the Deputy Chief Justice? Do you remember how Uhuru even disobeyed to swear judges? Do you remember how Uhuru stabbed the judiciary of its cash? Hata Maraga alikuwa apewi gari. Do you remember those things? So I think out of all those frustrations, you cannot blame Justice Maraga. You can put all the system in place, case to be heard, and this and this. And the reason as to why judiciary wanted more judges was because they wanted to, so that the cases could be fast tracked, to be heard fast. But now, since you don't want to swear them, what did you want Justice Maraga to do? Number two, if they are not given funds, how do they run without being given funds? So I think it was the frustration. Uhuru really frustrated the judiciary after it notified his so-called quote-unquote story win, which was actually because of murdering people. That's why he went back to the office. So there you cannot blame CJ Maraga. And actually Maraga did not even stay for all that long. He was frustrated. He was denied funds. So for me, for that one, I cannot blame him. And according to if the case of the audience deaths, if the case will be brought to court, if the cases will be brought to court, they go there, they find out the DPP and other civil society, they bring the cases to the court of audience deaths, and it will be proved, then the judiciary are going to pronounce themselves. They are going to say the same way they said in Mozambique. Mozambique, they said, since the parliament never approved this and this amount, so these $2 billion won't be paid. So if now we know that SGR costed, let's say, 5 billion, which was never approved by the government, or money was bought by the government, and it was never approved by the parliament as known, then the judiciary is going to pronounce hizi pesa hatulipi. Kwa hivyo wale wali approve na nini wawekwe ndani kama vile waliwekwa ndani Mozambique. Thank you.
Great. Okay. I expected responses to come after academia, but Monique, do you want to respond to Sam and then academia? Do you want to bring academia in quickly?
Yes, I'll respond very quickly, and I'll respond by way of example. I have $1 million shillings that I want to invest.
Can you share with us?
Yes. So the first office I go to is to an investment banker, and I give him the 1 million shillings, and I tell him I want to see my money grow. After 1 year, I realized that instead of growing my money, he's actually stealing my money. So it's now at 800,000. On the second year, I go and start protesting, and I tell people that I gave an investment banker 1 million shillings, and 2 years down the line, it is now 500,000 shillings. They tell me, we know an honest person called Maraga. Perhaps if you gave that guy your money would grow well, and he can't steal from you. He is a guy of integrity. So in the process of the conversation, Maraga himself hears that I have money that needs investing, and he himself, knowing that he is an honest man, he comes and tells me, oh yes, come, let me help you invest your money, and I won't steal from you. And I am convinced that he is an honest man. But I ask him, Bwana Maraga, how are you going to grow my money? Do you have any experience in investing? What strategies will you put in place, and what plans will you put in place to ensure that my money grows? That's where he starts stammering. He really has no idea. So he tells me, I'll make sure nobody steals your money. The money that has been getting lost is not going to get lost again. But I tell him, Bwana Maraga, I'm not looking for a watchman. I'm looking for an investment manager. And I want a manager who knows what he is doing. Bwana Sam, I'm looking for someone who can take this country forward, and he needs to have a clear mental picture of how he is going to do it. Guarding our resources is good enough, but we are looking for growth, double-digit growth, exponential growth, employment opportunities for our youth. If you remember the question he was asked yesterday about creating employment for our youth, he told us a lot of money gets lost through budgeted corruption. If we can stop this money from getting stolen, our young people will get jobs. That wasn't the answer I was looking for. I would rather have a parliament that watches over, that does the watchman role to ensure that the money doesn't get lost. But on the seat, I have a competent investment manager who will grow the economy of this country and lead us to prosperity, and all the wasted years we have lost under Uhuru and under Ruto are recovered. And we start talking about Vision 2030, millennial development goals, and all the wonderful things that come out of good leadership. That's the long answer for it. So I'm still not convinced that Maraga is the investment manager that I'm looking for. Thank you.
In other words, you're looking for an angel in these
Let's move on
elections. Watu wenye watakuwa kwa ballot just quickly.
Yeah.
Itakuwa ni Gachagua.
No, some
Raila
they can
Odinga.
make coalitions. Some they can make coalitions.
That's what we're working on. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Let's bring
Finally, I wanted to ask Japonji, Justice, I wanted to ask Japonji, which industries does Wanjigi run that have given him so much money? Thank you.
hiyo uliza Mwaura. Academia, karibu sana. Thanks, guys. Very good and very interactive, and I appreciate each one of you. I'm sure people are getting tired, so we might start making our submissions, maybe in about 15, 20 minutes, depending on how strong my co-hosts are. We can land in about 30 minutes max. Karibu sana, Academia.
Asante Justice Mwaura na Flavia. Justice, uliza swali. Unajua mimi uliza swali. Hii topic umesema sana mpaka sasa point zimeisha zote. Hebu nauliza swali concerning Maraga so that I can respond.
You know, the biggest challenge that we are, and again, this has been raised over and over again, is that he comes out as a nice gentleman, elder, who probably has a good track record in terms of that. But the aspect of winning an election, it is something that we cannot ignore. Yes, people have to vote for him to do that, but he also doesn't come out as somebody who is leading. It looks like he's being led. Every answer is like, people approached me, the Gen Z, I have this group, and every single activities he's doing, it's like he's being led, and then for him is to show up. Does Maraga come out as somebody who has leadership qualities that he can command a group and say that this is what my team is doing, this is what I'm leading, in order for him to be able to inspire confidence as somebody who is really in charge of what he's doing? And if not, what can he do to be able to bring that out? Because that is something that we are seeing out there, people saying that he's not in charge, is he?
Asante. When I'm giving my own view, I think Maraga, maybe people will overread his ability to perform. One, the mere fact that is a very soft-spoken. We are we are used to this brutal kind of politics. And the stature of Maraga is somebody is coming from a professional background. You know, in courts, he has been in court for a very long time. So in courts, people don't shout. People tend to be very soft because they are dealing with cases which are very complex in a way or this. So is a man that will not come out as that one who is a real politician, is a Kenyan politician. So maybe somebody will say he's lacking that charisma, but this is an office where it doesn't matter what you've done in the past. It is an office where you go with the majority. So regardless of who you are, people can decide to vote for you. So what happens thereafter is a difference. So because you can't judge somebody based on what you see before they assume that office, that will be false. You know, presidency is something that it is only people who have been elected that we can see their capability or capacity. But once you have not been elected, we can just talk about the integrity of somebody because of what you've done. But we cannot question your capability whether or not you can discharge your duty as outlined by the law. I think that one we will be reading too much. These people are just okay. Maraga is in order. Maraga can just be a president, having served as a chief justice. He has served in a very serious position, which is another arm of government, just like executive. And when you become president, you are more of a manager dealing with the direction and all. There are many people who will be working under you. So I don't know. I don't see why people want Maraga to come out in a way that they want. So allow Maraga to be. I think Maraga is capable by all credentials. He is qualified to be the president of Kenya. And let us look at him for who he is. Because if you want to bring other apparatus to blend Maraga, then we are not being authentic. We are creating a person in our head or in our mind that should act in a way that we feel, and not all of us read the same. So remember, how I want somebody to act might not be the same with how Mwaura would want somebody to do. So the way you see it, that is not how Kenyans see it. So that is you. That is why, in my view, I believe Maraga has the capacity. So unless somebody has demonstrated where he has become a president and failed to discharge the way Ruto is doing, I will not take that one seriously, because sometimes it's also better said than done. Remember, I normally give this example. You know, when I joined high school, in Form 1, I could see Form 4, Form 3, Form 4. And there is this chemistry paper people perceive as a very challenging paper. So even mathematics, but let me just talk of chemistry. So you would see some people get out of 80 marks. You see a paper, somebody's getting 10, 20. And then you wonder in Form 1, no, how can somebody get 10 out of 80 or 20? It is so many marks. You cannot even get 50 or 40 or 60. So until you reach that level, then you realize all of you were worried, were shocked. How can somebody get that? But when you reach Form 3, Form 4, you realize half of the class is getting just what those people are getting. Then you realize, okay, these are how things are. So let us not vilify this character. Maraga is capable, and for those who want to support him, just support him. And if you don't want to support him, you can also give your reason why you don't want him. But for me, Maraga is qualified, just like many other people are qualified. Matiangi is qualified. So I will not make qualification the capacity of somebody to do something and the integrity issue. So when I talk about integrity, the character, then that one we can have another discussion. But if I see Maraga, he can be a president. Even all these people, Kalonzo, well qualified. Who is this guy? Matiangi, qualified to be president. So now once we understand that they can be president based on their credential, the capacity to be in that office, all of them are qualified. Now, whether people can trust Maraga or not, that one, I will leave it for Kenyans to decide. On my side, I believe he is capable. On the issue of the interview, which interview did he do? Did he do interview yesterday, or the other one he did last month? I don't know.
No, he did one yesterday. You probably not seen it. So
Okay, then I'm not come across to that.
yeah, he did one yesterday with TV47 with Jabal Ainia.
No, Maraga.
And
Or
no. Maraga had a space yesterday. Yes,
Okay.
there was a space yesterday, and then Matiang had a TV interview yesterday.
Oh, Matiangi. Okay, Matiangi. One now. Let me pass Maraga. Maraga is okay, in my view. He can just be president. Other things we can talk about later. But Matiangi is also okay. Though Matiangi appears to be, is a very antagonistic in his thought. I don't know why. He's kind of a very antagonistic person in his thought. Very combative. But many Kenyans, if you ask them, they will say they want the character of Matiangi. So it's a democratic society, and people, majority will have their way, and minority will have their say. So Matiangi, that is his nature, how he responds to questions, how he wants things to be done. What I know is a guy that will do things his way, regardless of what the law says, because he's such a person that has demonstrated not once, not twice, numerous times, that he can do things regardless or disregard court orders. He has done in the past. So for me in that area, I'm a little bit skeptical for that. But he's qualified to be president. He has that, the qualification, if you talk of maybe qualifications in terms of educational background, he is well schooled, just like Maraga, just like Kalonzo, just like Jimmy. Okay, Jimmy Wanjigi is also qualified, but I don't know Jimmy Wanjigi, I don't know his history well. I have not interacted with his history. I only interacted with history in 2022 when it was, I don't know, it was someone under siege in his house, something like that. Certain things happened there. But what I also know is a tycoon, is a money man. Beyond that, I can't say more about him. He has been talking about the odious debt, and the way he presents himself I can say is also qualified without going into the education background of his. Just on the prima facie is qualified, the way he's talking himself, the kind of person he is. So it's also, if he's in the race, the Kenyans will decide. So Justice, let me tell you one thing, Justice, that many people may find a little bit challenging. You know, in Kenya, to be specific, there is no requirement. You can run for any office without a degree certificate. So these political offices, you can just run from the MCA all the way to the presidency. Whether you have degree or not, you can just run for any office. Once you are adult, 18 and above, you are an adult Kenya, you can just run for any office. So all these things we want to talk about, the papers and all that. In politics, in our case, there is nothing like a degree or umesoma wapi. Hakuna kitu kwa hiyo. That's why all these crooks we elect them, and we are likely to elect more, even if we don't retain the current one. Others will just come, new faces will just the way we have been replacing them, and there is no change.
Yeah.
So we will elect them in 2027.
Thanks,
But
Academia.
the most important thing as I learned, the most important
Okay,
thing,
sure.
all these things we'll say, but there is one thing. Kenyan politics is about popularity. Being popular, they call it being populist and all this. You have to rally behind a narrative, because majority of us do not understand, cannot have a conversation what we are having today. So if you want to be too executive, too corporate, too elite, and you want to engage people on the basis of what you understand, you get a very small chunk of people like Justice and Japony and Flavia Maura and Remta. But the bulk of the voters, they don't want to listen to the rule of law. They don't want to listen no. You go there to convince them that you want votes. And how do you want votes? You create a narrative that resonates well with the majority. Then you get elected. But if you want to be if you want to be professional, you articulate your issues well based on fact, and no, you will miss it. So the earlier, those who support Maraga and other people, go the Wamunyoro way. And that's why sometimes I agree with Onyo, because power.
Thank you, Academia.
Power. Let me say this. Power.
Sure. 1 minute.
Power is not given. Power is taken, and you must be brutal about it. If you are very, very polished, you're not going to get. Nobody's going to underpower you. You have to fight for it at all cost. You have to snatch it at all costs. You have to run away with it at all costs, and you have to maintain it at all costs, because that is power. Nobody gives power. It is taken. It is grabbed at all cost. That's why Ruto is doing everything to maintain it, and that's why Wamunyoro is doing everything to take it from Ruto. So anybody thinking that it will be on a silver platter, no. You are going to miss out. You will still get these crooks in their office 2027, because they know what power means.
Much appreciated. Thanks for really sharing your thoughts. They are very, very strong and very powerful there. I want us to start closing. I want to have Flavia try to answer the question that we asked, and it seems it's the second most asked questions to Dr. Fred Matiangi. Besides the River Yala, the next most important question to him is about disobeying court orders. And I think, could hear from academia, a submission, I did ask you and probably try to bring my understanding into it.
Can I
What are your
respond
thoughts?
to
No,
you, Disobey Kotola?
let's have Flavian, then you can come in on that. I'll have Flavian, then you can come in on that because that's more legal aspect that you guys can help us on that, and then we can start closing after Flavia will start closing. Thanks. Go ahead.
All right, thank you so much. And I'm sorry, guys, we kept you in the space. I think it's about midnight right now, but I think the conversation has been quite informative. And I think, just as I said before, I like that we've gotten to the point where we are questioning issues and not just focusing on personalities. I think that is active citizenry, and that is what is required of us right now as Kenyans. So si kungoja tu kuambiwa ni hivi ama hivyo. It's us being part of the process and questioning what we are being told so that we can poke the holes that need to be poked. That aside, you had asked about concept of court and how the AG comes into play. And I think the person of focus is Matiangi. So Article 2 of the Constitution says the Constitution is the supreme law and it's binding on every person in Kenya, and that includes the executive, the judiciary, basically every other person. And then the same Constitution goes to Article 159. It gives the judiciary power to give justice to every person. And the only way that can be achieved is to ensure that the laws are binding on every person. So the court, the how the society exists and becomes okay for every person is that we have laws in places that are supposed to govern everything, including finances, that is governed by the Public Finance Management Act, security, political issues governed by different acts, but the custodian is supposed to be the judiciary because they will tell you you're acting according to the law, you're not acting according to the law, and if you're not acting according to the law, you should stop or you should do this and you should do that. So every person is supposed to be bound by that. So that includes the executive. Matiangi, at that time, he was serving as the head of Interior, and he was the accounting authority for that ministry. What happened? I think there are a couple of issues. There is one for Huduma number, and there is one for Miguna, where he was not supposed to deport Miguna, and he was supposed to present Miguna in court as a person because they had walikuwa wamemwarrest. So they disregarded that. And also in regards to Huduma number, the court gave advisory on some issues and told them to be careful on matters like data protection and not compel people to be registered under Huduma number, or to compel people to only receive certain services if they're only registered. The court said that is not okay. They went ahead and disregarded that. Some issues also about TSC. So the AG is the legal advisor of the government. The same way you would have your own lawyer, the same way a company would have a company secretary. What the AG is supposed to do is guide the different government agencies, including a ministry, to obey the law. So in this case, if the court says someone is supposed to come to court or someone is supposed to stop doing something, the executive, then the AG is supposed to advise them to comply with that. If the government does not agree with the court order, the best they can do is challenge the order through court processes, either by staying the execution of the order or appealing such an order or having the order reviewed, but it cannot refuse the order. Otherwise, the society disintegrates. And that's where we are right now. It starts small, but we are at a point where we say there is no rule of law anymore because it starts with disobedience. If the head of state is going to disobey a court order, and this court order is based on interpretation of the law, then the fabric of society is broken because the law is being disobeyed, and that will trickle down. So Matiangi was supposed to obey the court orders. The AG was supposed to guide the executive, including Matiangi, in obeying the court order. That they failed to do that, that was very, very wrong. I think that is one of the things that has led to where the society is right now. Not to pinpoint and say that's the start, but I'm saying if the executive refuses, then I will refuse, then you will refuse, and then the law will mean nothing, and then will be the jungle that people perceive us to be. So that is my take on that.
Right. I get that part. That's what ideally is supposed to happen. Flavia, I want you to follow me
Yes,
on
I'm
this.
following you.
That's like ideally what's supposed to happen, and that's what we would expect everybody to do in a normal society. But in a situation where if a cabinet secretary is supposed to follow a certain court order and fails to do so, then shouldn't that be escalated to the cabinet secretary's boss to fire him?
That can be an option because one of the grounds for dismissal is, I think, misconduct, like misconduct and disobeying the code of conduct, which includes disobeying the law, and judgments by court or directives by court are part of the laws. So that is one of the options that the court can opt to. But other ways they do that is they impose liability. In this case, I think they imposed personal liability of about 200,000. That means nothing. But I think the court could have gone ahead and gone beyond that. But then again, if they were disobeying under the directive of the presidency, I think it's a
That's
bit
that's that's that's, that's where I was heading with that actually. Probably, yeah. Now you
it's
get where I'm heading. So the point I'm making here is
mm,
that the issue of disobeying court orders, which we have seen even in this regime, in recent cases, including where some people are supposed to produce in court until one of the judges became very harsh, is that we have a situation where yes, these ministers need to be held accountable, but then the role of the appointing authority, we need to find out why didn't Uhuru do something.
Yeah, Uhuru bears liability as well ultimately because he's the watchdog of everyone that is under him. So ultimately he bears that responsibility as well. But I would not totally say that sometimes I do wrong things because someone tells me to do them or they tell me not. I don't know, I don't know if I'm making sense. I
No, you
know
are. You are.
he was acting under direction, but then I think, and this is what we were speaking on to, the same way we are telling the public, you need to learn to say no to money as much as you need it, as much as you're poor, and these people, when they come for campaigns and empowerments they give you, it helps you. You need to learn to say no because ultimately it's not for the better of the public. I think the same way, if you're getting into any position, and I think this sounds idealistic, but if it was me, I will take the same approach. If you're getting into any position and your true reason for being there is service, we cannot attach ourselves so much on money or on power such that we disregard what put us into that position to begin with. So I mean, people should learn to be okay to lose power, to lose money. In this case, you cannot just say I was forced. Who knows if you're forced? We have no evidence that you're forced.
You have no evidence if you're forced. Thank you very much for that. Academia, share something and then you do your closing remark. I will have two more to do closing remarks. Then I have my co-hosts do their closing remarks. Then we can end. Academia, your thoughts on that?
Actually, Flavia amesema hizo vitu. Remember, even that fine, you can be fined. Contempt of court is a very serious offense. You can go to jail for that, up to 6 months. But remember, that was in 2018, in Miguna versus Fredo Kengo, cabinet secretary, and remember that case that they were contempt of court for reporting Miguna, and they were fined 200,000 each under contempt of provisions. They never paid that amount. So the problem we have is that there is very little courts can do, especially when a case touches a very senior ranking official in government, because they are the same in our case. Because in our case, in our country, the system or things are still run by personalities. So a minister will not be arrested unless the president says so. So it's not a question of the court. Court can give order, but they will disobey because there is nothing you can do to him. Because he's the one who is supposed to enforce. His office is supposed to enforce that order. So how will you go and arrest Matiangi if he's the in charge interior? The only thing a court can do is to issue order, and you refuse, will in contempt of court, will prefer charges, but the court itself cannot go and arrest him. The court will rely on the executive to execute that order, and therefore it becomes very difficult. And that is why they can openly defy court orders, because courts rely on them to execute certain functions. And if they can't do it, then there is nothing court can do, because even that money will still come from the executive side. If they are fined, it is the government to pay. So if the government does not pay, who do you blame? So this is where we have a problem, because we are not bound by the dictates of the office. We are still running a country based on what the president says, what the secretary, and how close you are to the president. And all. That's why even cases are withdrawn and all this even corruption cases, because we are still under the rule of human being, not under the rule of law. So when we get to the rule of law, even a cabinet secretary will not disobey court order, because they know the consequences. He can be put to jail immediately. But today you cannot. Even today, you cannot even tell. That's why even in the Senate or in Parliament, these people, they don't even go to Parliament. So it becomes very difficult, because people who are supposed to lead by examples become tyrants. And therefore, if we go this way, it means we are going. That is why in the CBD of late, thugs were just roaming in broad daylight with disregard to anything. They're just roaming around. So that's the state where we are, and we'll have to make a decision whether we want to continue with this kind of behavior or to stop it. Remember, justice as a land.
Sure.
Judiciary is the only arm of government. In quotes, you can say it's the most powerful arm of government, because when everything fails, we run to judiciary, include the executive, include parliament. We run to judiciary. And they are not in office courtesy of politics. They are in office due by law. In this case, that is why even removing judges or judiciary is very difficult. It's a lengthy process, very tedious process to go. That's why we don't want political interference with the judiciary. That's why they have that tenure of office, the security of that office. Because if we make them punching ball, then the people who are going to lose is common man like myself.
Thank you, Academy. We'll let you land in 30 seconds.
Yes, anytime the rule of law, the law and the rule of law fails, my friend, people are at risk at the common one, not even the big guys. They can survive because they have the monopoly of violence, they have the monopoly of power, they have the guns. But what about us? What will we do? Somebody will just go into out and pick anything and go.
All right. I will have, sorry. I will probably have to bring, sorry. Thanks, Academia. We got your point very, very well articulated. Great points. Sankale, Mwaniki, then co-host can close.
So, mine is just to emphasize that, by the Flavia, don't forget to give Sarah mic today. I really insist. Mine is just to emphasize that Hapo kwa presidency, we really need to be very careful who we are voting for, people with integrity and people watu wako na roho ya utu. That is one thing we should really look as well. Let us don't focus so much with president and tujisahau hapa kwa MPs. Aya, lastly, politics, tusione juu uko na 50,000 followers or 200 followers, it means wewe ni wise enough or you can think better than anyone else. I think even someone with 2 followers anaweza kuwa na a lot of ideas zenye zinaweza tusaidia as a country. Where we went wrong as the youths ni hapo kwa so-called big wigs. Watakuja, watasema kitu, watatu-influence, tutaacha kufikiria, tutaanza kuwafuata. You know me, I tell you guys the reality without sugarcoating. So food for thoughts and have a good night.
Thank you, Sankale. Mwaniki?
Mine is just to I'll conclude by answering that question that was asked if we are looking for an angel. What I would say is raising the bar is not a bad thing. We mean well, and there's plenty of time to take the criticism that we are offering and put it into good use. So to the Maraga team, please take our criticism positively and use it to improve where you can, and reach out to others. Kindly encourage your candidates to look for good company. It will make him stronger rather than weaker. To the Matiangi team, I've seen a few have followed me. Kindly tell your candidate it would be good for him to admit his wrongs and also endeavor to do better. And if we keep raising the bar, we can only get the best. Thank you and have a good night.
For submissions. Thanks, Mwaniki. As that, I will would have let my other co-host Jerry to speak, but I think she's a listener. So I'll bring in Maura. You gotta go before Flavor, and then
Yes,
we can wrap up. Close.
Yeah. My closing remarks, and I want to close with this. Whenever a court order is issued, that court order is addressed either to an entity or even to a person. It says that so and so is ordered, company so and so is ordered. So let's take the case of Miguna when he was being deported. That court order read here, the cabinet secretary is hereby ordered, and that cabinet secretary was Fred Matiangi. Now it shocks me to the core that somebody who can defy a court order, somebody who can deport somebody whose father and mother are Kenyans, assisted by birth, which you cannot lose, some people can think of making that person a president. I'm still in utter shock that somebody can think of that. Somebody under whose watch bodies can be dumped. He was in charge, that was his docket, interior security. People can be dumped. Somebody who can pay 1.5 billion of taxpayers' money to an individual and claim that he didn't know. Halire, he didn't know, he didn't have a legal team in his ministry. Come on. Hii mambo naisikia naona no. Some people need at least to wake up. Either do we need the counseling or tumerogwa au ni nini bana sisi? Mtu anaheshimu maamri ya mahakama. You see justice. You can imagine as somebody like a come and say that they're in state secretary and disobey court order and abua usiende Florida usivuje inyumba na anaivuja. Do you know the consequences over there? Yet here we have somebody who disobeyed several court orders and people are thinking that he can make the best president. Tomorrow we need at least we should pray for some people. Anyway, wacha nimalizie hapo, and thank you justice, and we should be holding these spaces more, no matter how busy some of us are. We will always be availing ourselves to be here because we want to make a better Kenya. We want to leave a Kenya, a better Kenya, whereby our children, the grandchildren, will live a better Kenya, whereby every sharing is accounted for. Nothing will make me happy than to see a president who will come in office 2027, and the first order of business is to have an audit of the audience debt. Manake hii madeni mengi, more than half of this debt, sisi hatukuchukua hii madeni. Kuna wale walichukua wakaweka Switzerland na huko kwingine. So these are the people who should pay for this money. And finally, I have nothing with anybody. Everybody is qualified, but you cannot tell me that if you can violate a court order, how, when you become a president, you'll be able to respect the constitution. Sijui watu tumerogwa, but sorry for saying that. Thank you, everybody, and Justice, keep on hosting these shows. We'll always be there.
Much appreciated. Flavia, do you want to close?
Thank you so much, Justice. Again, I agree with Maura. This